MakingStarWars.net.
Hey, YouTube.org. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and this is a Force Ghost.
With rising gas prices, Jason, I'm currently looking at getting a new vehicle here, the family wagon, the mint green pea metallic speedster truckster. It's gonna get me going places.
It's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. The wood paneling, put Rusty in the back. Man, you ever notice how when you get to Vacation 2, like those kids are pretty rough in part 2, gotta say.
Oh, well, that was that commercial they did where they had all the Rusties together in one commercial. Did you see that one? Euro Rusty, and he still got the beret and shit. Yeah, go look it up. It's great. They got everyone back. It's like it's better than any remake because they put all of them in this.
But it was just Rusty's, right?
No, they got the daughters too.
Because I thought the second daughter died. Did she die? I thought she died.
I know it was the Rusties, but yeah, they got Euro Rusty in there, which
right.
Yeah. You may get me on that one. To be honest, I was just focused on the Rusty.
I mean, maybe she didn't die. Maybe I just read that on the internet and believed it, and it wasn't true.
But the sequel, look, I get the sequel isn't as good, but the sequel does have the Family Feud moment where basically Richard Dawson makes out with everyone in the family. That was pretty
accurate.
It's so good, man. Yeah. Like, come on, for that one scene alone. Like, if we're out here defending mediocre sequels, like I'm just saying.
Oh no, no, don't get me wrong. I'll watch some National Lampoon's European Vacation. I'll watch it. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying the kids, like, it's really weird because the daughter, doesn't she have like a fucking like jock from like Revenge of the Nerds boyfriend? And it was really weird. It's really strange.
Yeah. She had a really hot boyfriend, and she was afraid of losing him because she was putting on weight.
Yeah,
which is a really weird joke to make, even for the '80s, because this is post Karen Carpenter, like
post Karen, but pre Tracy Gold. So
yeah, well, this is right in the Tracy Gold wheelhouse, really.
Yeah, I don't think they took that stuff seriously until about that time, though, right? Like Karen Carpenter, everyone was just like, "That was a damn shame, freak accident." I'd be like, "What happened?" Because
didn't live in my house, bro. Karen Carpenter dying was like fucking Princess Di dying from my mom, man.
Yeah, well, no. I had the Carpenter's records as like a little kid. I like listened to them and liked them, and it was like my parents would like listen to Ozzy and fucking B-52s constantly, like right in front of me all the time. Like I had like a new wave mom and a metal dad, and that explains me. But but basically, like the Carpenters thing, they wouldn't explain it to me, and so it was like they just wouldn't tell me, or they just like, so I was always like, what was that? And it wasn't until like Sonic Youth started doing the cover and like the tribute to Karen Carpenter came out that I was like 15, and I was like, oh, that's what happened. Because you kind of just don't think about that stuff all day, and you can't just go look it up on the internet back then. You had to like wait until the next cultural reference hit. But she like Karen Carpenter's like from like down the street from me, so it's like she's like a national fucking treasure over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, the reason why I put it that was the other day, some like in my Twitter feed, it was like some elderly actress finally passed away, and I'm like, man, she looks so familiar to me. Like I showed all the young pictures of her. I'm like, I know her from somewhere. Yeah, and she was this big comedian in like the '60s and the '50s, and she's the grandma from this movie. She finally passed,
Oh, right.
Man, grandma outlived everybody. She could not have been as old as she had appeared to be.
Yeah, it was like kind of like how like the Golden Girls were old, but they weren't really as old as your grandma. They just pretended to be for a kind of like thing.
And I'm like, think about that. You had this whole career, and everyone's known for you being dead. And then when you don't hear about them again until you actually die, and then all of it's like we put your body on a station wagon and drove you through St. Louis. Like that's pretty much your career. I feel like that's gonna be my career, Jason. Like I'm gonna be summed up that way one day. Like,
so I'll miss you when you're gone. That's just the truth.
You know what? That's not true. But we'll move on to the show. I watched your show yesterday. No one missed me.
I did.
No one cared.
I did. I was like, I was like this. Oh no, I don't know what to say on the alternate beats. And
Well,
was
as I
waiting for you
told
to
people,
talk.
it's everyone's here for ultimately, man. This really comes down to you and your scoops. Like if you weren't here and it was just Earl of Sandwich all day, I don't know what I'd do with myself. I'd throw myself out a window.
So we talk about vacation. Talk about vacation.
Yeah, whatever. Good show yesterday,
And
Jason. It was entertaining.
thank you. Today's story was researched and brought to us by Chris Spreezy, show program coordinator. That's his new title. It just means he gives me the links. But thank you, Chris. I appreciate it, man.
If you ever got to do a PR circuit, Jason, you need Chris being the guy who goes.
Oh yeah,
he's well spoken, looks great, and if they start shit, he's in shape. You know?
And he's got a backhand. So that backhand works in sports and probably in real life.
Yeah. Well,
Mike is heading into work. I will listen to the rest of the show later. No, you need to call in sick, Mike. Unacceptable. But yeah. So how's everyone doing? Everything is true from a certain point of view. Yeah. So today somebody sent me that Reddit forum, and they're like doing like a breakdown of like the accurate leaks for Kenobi. Rock that shit. Somebody tried to set the record straight. They were a little harsh and incorrect, but it was a lot better than the old narrative they used to sell. So I'll take it.
That's how I get through life, Jason. I'm like, you know what? Close enough.
Sucks being on the internet. I'm like, people brought message board post out from 2006. It's not exactly when I was starting making Star Wars, a little different. Cobra Kai, Peter says it's Cobra Kai's Johnny Lawrence. That's what I thought. I was like, it's pretty much, Johnny Lawrence. So, but Everyday More Lies. Oh, we'll see.
Oh, that was her boyfriend. Yeah, Johnny Lawrence was her boyfriend. You got me.
Yeah.
You got me on that one. I
forgot.
Yeah.
No, but we knew. We're just old. What do you want?
My cousin met him when she was in junior high because his uncle was her junior high school teacher. So this is like, I want to say like 89, 90, when she goes, Johnny Lawrence came to my class. And I'm like, fucking asshole. She's like, no, he's really nice. I'm like, I hate that guy. Even then, I was like, kid, he's an actor, but he's a fucking asshole.
He probably had to compensate like the guy from Ghostbusters.
That guy quit.
Yeah,
after Biodome.
No, but
genius,
I'm saying,
right?
I'm saying he probably like you probably have to overly compensate when you're that, when you're that role. And seen in that way, and like such like a big movie, you probably have to be like extra nice. People are like, "Wow, that surprised me. You're really nice." Or do you think it's the opposite? And when he's just like, "Sup," people are like, "Whoa, he was really nice." He didn't beat me up.
I get that same compliment from folks when they meet me. Rob was actually nice. He wasn't mean to me. I'm like, what? Am I that mean? I mean, I do pick fights, but I mean, we take this serious. I understand.
Yeah. I every now and then when I lose my temper when someone is extra stupid and tell them they have shit for brains, because sometimes they just do.
They do.
Sometimes they fucking do.
Let's be honest.
And then they'll be like, he's a misogynist. No, that's me being a fucking feminist. Because if you have shit for brains, I'll tell you too, Rob. It doesn't matter what you have. They, them, her, it, anybody. Shit for brains. Gonna say it. Can't help myself.
We can't say shit for
I'm
brains.
Like a Jedi. Now? I'm like a Jedi. I can't help myself. So
did cancel culture take away that too?
Not for me. I will not let that go. I will hold on to that one for dear life.
There's a director named Spaz Williams. He directed the Spawn movie. I was talking about this to my wife the other day.
That was my nickname for a little while when I was about.
She's like, you can't use that word spaz. I'm like, why?
You really can't use spaz anymore?
They say it it's like the R,
oh yeah.
And I'm like, look, we have to have names for fucking stupid shit. I mean, what is it? Because last I checked, the other side, man, they're just taking over everything, and we're over here haggling over a couple words. Like
over language,
spaz. Like we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. It's his name. That's a guy's name, though. Like now he can't use it. I mean, if my mom had named me the
no, I'm not even.
She called me the R word as a kid a lot, but she didn't name me that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no,
She
that
did.
when I hung out with a bunch of like older punk kids, and I was like the little weirdo, and they used to call me Spaz. I was like, I
Yeah.
thought it was cool. I was into it. I'm still into it. Um, Miss Sunflower
It
says,
seems
"Hey
like a
y'all."
Ghostbuster name, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Spaz Spangler. Heard some rumors about Cal Kestis live action show. Any news on that front? So
Oh.
I think that came from Christian Harloff, and
Mm-hmm.
I have like nothing to add to it. When I'm gonna say a very light fishing of, hey, anything to that. I got no like pings back, if you will. I got nothing on it, so I kind of I'm on the that would be cool, but kind of don't think so train. But I'm not debunking it because I don't fucking know. So if it comes out and it says it, if it comes out, it's like a thing. I'm not like, oh, Jason said it wasn't, and then it was. I just don't know anything about it, and that's what's weird about things that are real and I don't know about, or are fake, because
Well, you don't know
that's gonna be the
everything, and you don't
no.
claim to know everything.
No,
Like
no, no.
that's
That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what
yeah.
I'm just trying to be like. Because I always hate it when like sometimes with certain people, if I go like that doesn't ring true to me, then they're like, oh, like you're debunking them, right? And Harloff wouldn't give a fuck. But so that's why I'm okay with talking about it with Harloff. But it's like when it comes to that kind of shit, like with debunking, then people get all like they take it really personal, and then I have like an enemy for life that I don't
Yeah,
even
but
know I
you
have. You know what I mean? Though, on the
right.
internet, who's like, oh well, who's like waiting for me to fail, and it's just like,
Oh no.
yeah. So I just don't. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Aria. Taika not shooting this year. Guess it's 2024. All right, Aria. There you go. We're doing it. We're doing it live. We're doing it live, Aria.
Oh,
Hope you're
I'm
ready.
so shocked, Jason. I never saw this coming.
Yeah.
Just want
Yeah.
to say they argued with me when Paramount announced that Star Trek date. Just want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, I was always like if this is in any way happening, there must be something we don't know. Like that was always my take, was there was a missing puzzle
Right.
piece here, and I was trying to figure out what's the missing puzzle piece, and it just turns out that there wasn't. I think Kathleen Kennedy misspoke and then continued to misspeak, and then kind of for whatever reason didn't course correct. I think she was in a position where she said 2023, and then if she said actually 2024, like if she had like said that, they would have been like, ooh, she slipped. And I think that's where she didn't know what to do in the moment. That's just my reading of it, and it happens.
Plus, and just to piggyback off that, like, just if you're gonna do fan math, do some like realistic fan math. Who can shoot a movie while they're on a press junket tour for 3 months? You know what I mean? For
Right.
a film, a big summer tentpole film. If it were like a press junket for another Jojo Rabbit or something, which probably has a shorter press junket of like 1 month,
Mm-hmm.
but we're talking like a worldwide release for a major film. He's gonna be doing that shit for quite a while. Like, plus they got the Blu-ray releases and everything else they got to deal with, and like this eats up your whole summer. It's not a time you go, hey, let's go shoot a movie.
Yeah. So
Like
Taika Waititi Star Wars movie won't shoot this year. Quote, I'm still trying to figure out what the story is. The filmmaker tells The Wrap by Drew Taylor at 10:03 a.m. And yeah, I have a new little Taika talks. All right. Theme that we need to write, or we need to record.
I like it.
On
By the way, your Qui-Gon song got stuck in my head last night. I have no idea. Was he watching Star Wars? Yeah, when not forgotten. I was doing my little like backup chorus in the back too.
I don't know what that accent is. Not forgotten. I don't know what it is, but it's just European vacation guy to me.
Yeah,
So it's all connected. So on May 4th, 2020, Lucasfilm announced that Taika Waititi would co-write with 1917 and Last Night in Soho scribe Christy Wilson Cairns and direct a theatrical release Star Wars film. Since then, not much has been revealed. But when The Wrap sat down with him to talk about his upcoming superhero sequel, Thor: Love and Thunder, we had to ask him about the status of the project and how it's coming along. Some had suggested that filming on Waititi's movie would begin later this year, since Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy had suggested his movie was further along than Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, which Disney has still penciled in for December 2023. Yeah, not happening. If Disney is still trying to fill a slot next Christmas with a Star Wars project, it would presumably fall to Waititi's still unnamed Star Wars project. As it turns out, not so much. Not this year, Waititi said when asked if he'd begin working on the project soon. He explained, I'm going to be in New Zealand from August until the end of the year with Our Flag Means Death and Time Bandits, and during that time, I will still be writing. I'm still trying to figure out what the story is. And before we move on really quickly, shout out to my big bull buddy, Bespin Bulletin, who literally fucking said this. Like, this was his first analysis to me, and I co-opted it, and he's completely dead on. So good job in your analysis, Mr. Bulletin. Can I call you Bespin, or do I Mr. Bulletin? If Waititi's movie isn't going to be ready in time for next Christmas, and Jenkins' movie is being pushed off to the side for the moment, in Kennedy's words, then what will the next Star Wars movie even be? And when will it be? Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is working on a Star Wars project, and director J.D. Dillard, whose World War II movie Devotion opens later this year, has been rumored to be working on a project, but those seem even further off than Jenkins or Waititi's movies. At the very least, there'll be plenty of Star Wars on the small screen with Andor coming in August. So that's basically the gist of it. For the record, do not, in my opinion, expect there to be a Star Wars movie in 2023. I don't think there will be one, but we did have Michael Waldron at least writing something. So if you were going to guess, it would be the Feige Waldron thing would most likely be the next thing. As if, when we put all of these down together, it sounds like that one could be the furthest along, but we don't exactly know where Patty Jenkins' movie's at all. We don't know if there's a draft, if it's just a pitch. Has she done anything? We don't really know, as far as I could recall.
I've been thinking about that one, Jason.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm of two minds. First, I'm like, well, how do you top Gun? Just broke $1 billion, by the way, worldwide. And then I'm like, because, then I'm like, I hear all these people saying, what other franchises can we dig up? Which is not the lesson someone should take away. One fucking 80s remake gets made, and everyone thinks it's the remake factor that was the selling point. Like, that's not it at all. It's the roller coaster ride, being there, experience fucking bit of it, and it's short, it gets to the fucking point, and you have a good time. Like that. Well, that's
Tom Cruise is huge. Top Gun is huge. The Lady Gaga song, like you have like 15 things going for it all.
But let's be honest, it wasn't huge. It's huge only in that all the buzz is super positive about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this easily could have been a case where there was no buzz and no one gave two shits, So, but I was thinking about this. I'm like, or do they go, well, we actually have something that was fondly remembered in the 80s with spaceships, and now we should definitely do the movie because it's the only thing that could directly piggyback off a Top Gun. When you think about it, they're probably, if I'm doing my Hollywood math, right, this Top Gun doing $1 billion is more likely to get Rogue Squadron released theatrically than less likely.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this little detour, because we could do whatever we want today. It's our show.
Like the cartoon,
the canceled cartoon. So I don't want to put words in his mouth, but me and Bespin, we were talking about Top Gun, right? And he was like, they got to make a sequel. And like I'm cynical. I'm like, I've been waiting for a fucking sequel since I was 7 years old. Yeah, sure, I'll take it when I'm 90. But then he was like, nah, man, and he seemed like he was like into the new cast, like the new people, and so he was like, they should continue it, like that world, and do it. And I was like, and I really didn't know what I felt about it. Do you think they will turn Top Gun into a franchise now?
I think long as Macquarie and them. Macquarie did a lot of work on that film, man. Like, uncredited, I don't give a shit. A lot of work.
Yeah.
So long as they have a thing and Tom has an idea where to go, then yeah, they absolutely will.
Because like Mission Impossible's done, right?
No, it isn't. They're still on it right now, bro.
Like, no. Like the franchise with Cruise is wrapping up. With Cruise,
you know, man,
you know, say,
you gotta know how those films are made to know that it's never
okay.
Yeah, it is.
Gotcha.
They are focused on what they're making, and they always think we're never going to do another one. And right at the very end, they're like, but, and McQuarrie's talked about this many times. He did this one story where on the end, at the end of Rogue Nation, he was like, I'm glad I'm getting out of this. I'm not doing it again. And then he's like, but I had an idea on how to get Lane out, like what to do with Lane, the villain they captured. And then he goes into Cruz. Now this is a little kayfabe probably, but it's his word, so I'm gonna roll with it. He goes into Cruz's office, and Cruz is sitting there like in his chair, and he spins around, and he goes, "I got an idea." He goes, "How to get Lane out?" Yeah, I was just thinking about it right now, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, so I like that cinematic version because it probably didn't happen that way. However, they continue to do that over and over again, and McQuarrie talks the most about looking to older cinema more than. Say the thing now with like a superhero movie is to take a movie in the last 30 years and kind of remake it like Chinatown or Seven, right?
Yeah.
Or any other genre. They really have been looking to older and older and older films. That's why you see a giant train bit in the new film, right?
Right.
And so my guess would be, because a lot of what Tom Cruise is doing is very similar to what Buster Keaton was doing back in the early 30s and whatever, right? It's late 20s. So my guess is with Top Gun, if they do another one, they're going to look at what was done then and how could you experience it for real now. And I would say this, at CinemaCon, Campy and them were saying that, they played the trailer. They released a trailer, yeah. So the trailer's up where Tom Cruise is on a biplane. You know what I mean? Like just holding on, like standing on a fucking biplane, and McQuarrie is like in another biplane.
Confirmed, Tom Cruise is by.
So like it's probably the case. But I could see a Top Gun where like they're like, yeah, now we're doing fucking even older fucking planes or something. There's another way around this.
Talking Star Wars. Thank you for the super chat.
What's happening with the thing?
I'm putting it on and you're taking it off. Any confirmation on news about Millie joining Star Wars? Nobody official has said anything. So talking about Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, and the British tabloids were reporting that she was working out a deal with Lucasfilm, but that story was predicated upon, if it was ever true or has any foundations of truth to it, upon the negotiating going anywhere and the deal becoming anything. What did they say? It was like 15 million pounds or something like that too. So yeah, I mean, it could be real. I would not even be surprised if the story was fake, but a meeting had happened at some point. Because why not?
The fact that nothing has been said lends me to think it's more real than if someone had come out and immediately debunked it.
I feel like when the British tabloids say something, it never gets debunked. It just gets like swept aside. And then, but when there's like kind of there's smoke, there's fire situations kind of like should come about from this if there is something to it. Like I don't basically like how it's going to happen, for instance, is if this deal is a thing, if it is going somewhere, someone at Netflix is going to find out. Someone at Netflix is probably going to have to know. And
they're going to find out what they read.
No, because if one of the people who they work with is doing something, they're probably going to get wind. And so what I'm trying to say is that like it won't be kept under wraps for long if it's real. It won't. There will be too many. She is connected to too many various productions and people who would just need to kind of have she's doing something I can't tell you about a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Like that kind of bullshit is what they would do. And then they'll be like, hey, I think she's doing I don't know for sure, but I think she's doing Star Wars. And so then it would become so anyways, that's a lot of money. I don't know I think it would be good for her to be in Star Wars. I think it would be good for her and Star Wars, but I don't know if it would. I don't know if that amount of money actually would make sense. I don't know if she's that big of a box office draw right now. I don't know. Streaming, she's definitely, a thing, but I don't know. I don't know that's the one thing about it that makes me question it the most. It could be the number that if the agents were floating, knowing that they would go, you're crazy, and then they would go down from there, but higher than where they would have if they didn't do that, because it's a negotiation. So it's really hard to say. I would probably bet against it though, unfortunately. Like it would be cool, but I don't know why they would necessarily be negotiating something right now for a thing that's not like we think it could be cool if they decided to make a Star Wars movie with her. Like they decided like we're going to work with her, and then they started making something around her. That's not how they've done things ever. So it would be I think a bad guess to assume that's what they were doing this time, right? Since they've never done that. They've never done it, so as a guess, but it could happen.
Never done a lot of things recently though, Jason. The thing that gets me about it is they do tend to know what they want to do for a project in the most loosest of sense. Like there was always like Kira, right? There was always a female protagonist for them on Force Awakens, whatever that was going to be or become. And there was an evil male Jedi. Like they knew that. So if they already started chucking together concept art, which by the way, my wife, I come out yesterday and she's watching the Three Musketeers, right? The Disney one. And so I'm looking at Kiefer Sutherland. I'm like, man, he looks way much like Alec Guinness. Like I didn't really notice it my entire life. Yeah. Like just talking about, because we saw that photo of him the other day. I'm like, man, he really does look like an older Alec Guinness, even more so than Ewan in a lot of ways. He's just more intense.
Obi-Wan's brother. Let's cast it right now. Let's do it.
Look, man, if I could, Kiefer Sutherland is fucking Obi-Wan's brother. That has to happen, Jason. Like we gotta keep putting that out there because he really is quite good. He has that intensity. Sure. Yeah. What was I saying though? Oh, but they were using that concept art, like they were drawing Kiefer's face on the Obi-Wan, right? So they knew what type they wanted. I could see a situation now where Taika goes, I'm still writing, I don't know what it is. He doesn't know what the movie is, but they probably know what they're generally going for, And so that would be the one thing where I'm like, they probably want to sign, if they're going to go with they know if they want to go with a name or a nobody. They always know that from the beginning. Like even James Cameron, when he was talking about making Avatar, he knew he wanted Matt Damon or a nobody. That was the only option for James Cameron. Yeah. So I got to imagine they probably want her or a nobody if it's true, like.
Well, and also, I mean, and it could be for, it could literally be for anything. That's like the other side of it, because that's what kind of made me doubt the article to some extent, because unless they were protecting a source, but they were like, it could be a movie or a streaming series, and I'm like, you're talking about 15 million pounds for a streaming series?
Yeah, it's not a streaming series.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
yeah.
But that's just what makes me think like it was like non-committal in certain ways. So, obviously I can't debunk it, and it's one of those things where when I did ask a couple of sources about it, they were just like, I don't know anything about that. But a lot of people don't know about that kind of stuff until it's on, usually anyways. But would say if she wasn't, I think for the clones, I do think they should stick to Maori actors. I think she's a Maori. I think that they should find a Maori actor if they ever do Omega in live action.
Oh, you mean Omega?
But she would be I think she would be good in Star Wars in general though. I do. Yeah. I think she to me feels like she's like I don't know, like she's like right in between Natalie Portman and Carrie Fisher, like in a good way. She'd make a great Star Wars character, in terms of that.
She's too old for Leia now, folks. She's Padme's age at this point, like literally in real life. Like
no, she's like literally the same age as well. She's the same age as both of them in various Star Wars of the early their original trilogy and prequel trilogy stuff. She's like the same age as them, and if this takes 2-3 years to get off the ground, she won't she'll be
older.
even.
She's Empire Strikes Back age at that point. Like,
but I mean, she's beautiful. I don't think she's gonna like, it's gonna be like, oh no, she's she's 27, she's over the hill for Hollywood. I think she'll be fine. But
she was on the Hot Ones and whatever.
Yeah,
I think she's wearing like, I don't know, however she had her hair up was very Carrie Fisher in the Ewok Village. Go watch the Hot Ones with her. You'll be like, holy shit.
Oh, I watched that and I was like, I forgot you were a fancy English lady.
You didn't watch Enola Holmes?
Oh, well, yeah, but I figured that was fake because it's Enola Holmes.
No, no, we can't fake that too well. Like, I only seen one English actor do it well, and that was the guy who played Spike, James Marsden.
Well, she just became a lot less talented to me. Thanks, Rob. You ruined Millie Bobby Brown for the whole internet now. You happy? Fucking happy, dude?
I am happy. Thank you.
Wait,
having a good day, actually.
Wait, I'm
very happy.
Oh, I'm talking to a source right now. They heard what you said and they realized they didn't know that and they canceled the deal and it's not happening now. It's over.
Perfect. Well, I don't.
Hey, oh no, it sucks.
I took it away from you. Sketchcraft giveth, Sketchcraft taketh away. Right, George? Yeah.
Oh no, Sketch.
I took it all. I'm taking it all back, everyone. I'm taking it all back, and I'm just gonna keep it here in Marin County. And one day, the fires of the climate change will just rage over Star Wars, and it'll all go away.
I heard a rumor that you were making a movie called The Emancipation Proclamation, but now I think you're talking about emancipating Star Wars from the white slavers.
Yeah.
George, you need to stop. You need to just let it go, bud. Just let it go.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll do that. Thanks. Bye.
Suck says, what if Jude Law is supposed to be Obi-Wan's bro in Skeleton Crew?
Screw is what we're calling that now.
Screw. Well, sucked and
screw. That came from sucked.
Sucked and screw. By
the way, I do like that avatar, man. That's pretty good. Sucked.
Thank you for the super chat. Sucked.
Super appreciative. Thank you.
What if yeah, I mean, could be, right? It could go that way. My kind of reading of it right now, like I said, is that he's like a marooned captain. Like that's kind of where my head's at with it. I don't know. I just figure like if it's a skeleton crew, I mean, unless they're supposed to be lost in space is what they've confirmed, right? But like, why is it called Skeleton Crew? And I just have to keep thinking it's because it's like they have the bare minimum to get off something and then get out in space. So I'm kind of wondering if that's where it's going to go. But when it comes to Obi-Wan's brother, I hope it's not like 1-to-1 and Obi-Wan. I hope it's Obi-Wan with the fun twist. Twist the lemon. Twist the lemon.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, Jason, old Caddy, she talked about the other day how we're going to be following video games for the shows, entering more of that video game territory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Obi-Wan's brother is going to be DLC for the Kenobi series, starting in this.
how much is that? How much is that DLC for Disney Plus going to cost?
In Bitcoin or in like real money? Because I don't.
Wait, we have to send Bitcoin to D Filoni. That's how we. That's how we make it happen.
Well, no, we're gonna do our own thing here. Paycheck has a holding called Droid Coin. We're gonna be doing that. Droid Coin.
Droid Coin.
How much you want to? Someone believes this. Please. See, that's why I said, folks. If we wanted to make a bullshit show up, I could do this all fucking day. Like I could come up with shit all week. You know how rich we could be, Jason, if we just gave in to the dark side?
Yeah. So Ray is bisexual, says, is Brie Larson joining Star Wars? I heard a rumor about it not long ago. So I'm of two minds on this. If you have a bunch of bisexual people particularly, who want to bang somebody, then they're just going to say that they're in Star Wars. So there's that aspect of it. But the other side of it was what's her name? Jillian something, the woman from Community who was in the show. The blonde is okay. They kept talking to one time they were talking to her about a project, and I keep hearing Brie Larson for that, and I was just like, that's not true. So that's what makes me just go like, I don't think the Brie Larson stuff has any merit at all.
Yeah, I think that was just something that came and went.
And bisexual people, I'm just busting your eyeballs. I'm just kidding. Don't get
That
serious.
was when the Filoni, not the
Filoni.
That was when the Kevin Feige thing was first announced, and everyone, because Captain Marvel had just come out, and they figured, he said he had someone already in mind that they worked in maybe for the role, and they were trying to do the math because she was like, I would love to be in a Star Wars, like, all that shit kind of lined up. But if she were really talking, she never would have said, I love to be in a Star Wars role. She'd shut the fuck up, you know?
If it was already decided, she wouldn't have said anything. Yeah,
right. Now she wouldn't even say she loves Star Wars. She would.
I think the Brie Larson stuff was originally floated because I don't know anything about her. I don't follow her. I don't follow any of that shit. But I just know that like a bunch of dudes got their wieners tied in a knot over stuff that she says. And so I think if you put her in Star Wars, then you start to make a second grift. That was my take.
We need one of those, like, when the AI gets good enough, we can just type shit in and it animate something for us.
Mm-hmm.
We need like that Tom and Jerry Bugs Bunny, like, you know, like bit where instead of like tying two legs together into a knot, we could just tie their wieners into a knot. You know, I feel like we're closer to that than farther away. We can just type some shit in and it'll the cruder it is, the better. Like, that's what I love. Like I don't want really well put together animation here.
No. Yeah. Nolan Ryan, channel member. Thank you for being a channel member, everyone. Will Morgan, everyone who I missed and not think today. I do appreciate it. And there were like 66 of you online a little while ago. Now there's like 81. But the 66 people, like it 66 times. Do that now. Order 66, the like button for us, or sucked is going to get you. Okay. Hey, wait, I dropped. There it is. Wait, no, I totally lost my spot. What is going on today? This machine. Wait, dude, it's like gone. Okay. Oh, here it is. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Lawrence?
Okay. Check out the link I placed earlier in the comments. It's an interview about the originally planned Obi-Wan trilogy from Wright Stewart Beatty. Oh, nice. That's cool. I didn't see that link. I don't know if it filtered it out, but I would love to look in to talk about that.
Yeah,
I know some stuff. I know some stuff about that.
You can at Jason on Twitter too. Give us a link, man. At the show.
Is Brie Larson joining Star Wars? No. We think. Star Wars dog. Where's the smoke? There's a wire.
Or an electrical company who hasn't been upkeeping their fucking. How many times are we going to see fires are started by electrical companies before something's done about it, Jason? Like, for real. Like, another one last week.
I think it was actually Morgan Freeman from the TV show, and you're misunderstanding the old Morgan Freeman Electric Company show.
They're the ones. I was just remember that time he got pulled over and he was with his like the younger girl.
No, I actually don't know anything about that. I just said nice as a joke. I don't know anything about it. So she was like 11. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, careful, Jay. You know, she's Millie Bobby Brown. What are you saying, Jason?
Although that was Drake. Aria says Daisy Ridley was at John Williams' birthday and she talked about Imperial March. She's hinting at something, surely. I don't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't go reading in it. She just.
I mean, that'd be cool, but I don't think so. Okay, Mr. Dolan, thank you for the link. Let me see what it says. So this is from the direct. Obi-Wan Kenobi wrapped. Blah 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 blah. Stephen Daldry and Amini were brought on to direct and write the film, respectively, before the project shifted. Joby Harold was subsequently brought on. Yep. In an exclusive interview with the direct's Nathan Johnson, Obi-Wan Kenobi's writer Stuart Beatty talked about his role in making Ewan McGregor's project and how it was originally imagined as a full trilogy. And Ewan hinted at as much. Was it was with Collider? They're like, are you doing a Star Wars thing? And he's like, he's like freaking out. He's like, maybe it could even be a trilogy. I was like, oh, you don't just say that. Beatty was credited as writer for episodes 1, 2, and 3 and the season finale of the series. And then so he goes on to say, so those box office bombed it out. Okay, so right. So not at all, none. I wrote the film that they based the show on. So yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it. And then when the decision was made not to make any more spin-off films after Solo came out, I left the project and went on to other things. Joby came on and took my scripts and turned it into 2 hours into 6. So I did not work with them at all. I just got credit for the episodes because it was all my stuff. I'm going to say that was a little bit of a liberal use of all my stuff. Honestly.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely ideas. I mean, I'm not saying he definitely should have been credited and stuff like that. But yeah. Some of this doesn't release so well. So when I pitched my Obi-Wan story to Lucasfilm, I said there's actually 3 stories here because there's 3 different evolutions that the character has to make in order to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. And the first one was the first movie, which was the show, which was surrender to the will of the Force, transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. So then the second movie was thinking about where Obi-Wan ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably most powerful moments in all of Obi-Wan's story is that moment where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just kind of go being a fighting a guy to see Luke and go, I'm going to die. That to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. So then the writer continues to elaborate on what he envisaged for a second story. And he goes on to say, Ewan McGregor's character coming to terms with his own mortality. So then he goes on to say, so again, it's one of those universal things we all struggle with, to come to terms with our own mortality. So that, wait, is this the same quote? Okay, no. So that was the second step and of the evolution for me, that Obi-Wan now has to come to terms with his mortality somehow in a prophecy, or Qui-Gon telling him there's going to come a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for the good. And then Obi-Wan is like, what? No. I'm here to help. I can't, no. And get him to the point where Obi-Wan has accepted the idea that he's going to die, and that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment. And you will know when that moment presents itself, so that when the moment comes up in A New Hope, you understand. He's recognizing he's been on this journey already. He's waiting for the moment. And that's how he's able to make it so easily to this sacrifice and die. So that to me was the second evolution, the second film, the second story. So for me, if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan, that's the character evolution that I would take him on. That to me is really interesting. And like I said, universal, which is, I think, kind of what we've been saying to some extent too, that they should do. Make it with Qui-Gon and this, but I like how he makes it about acceptance.
You talked about it yesterday, and it has to be done in a way in which he goes on a literal journey. It can't be him sitting in a hut fucking meditating and shit and seeing visions. Like there needs to be like a Green Knight-ish kind of journey about the whole Force Ghost fucking becoming whatever. Like there has to be something about that, because right now the Jedi, like, they're just, we gotta survive. We're surviving. Like, surviving for what? You know what I mean? To what? To just live? Like, there's a real, like, almost selfishness to it, Like, I believe, like, there's something there. I just hope that these ideas are very clearly displayed in a TV series. I'm getting real tired of, like, every fan having to, like, you do a really good job of providing context for the show, but if the show were really good at explaining it, man, you wouldn't be out there doing such. It'd be just like, yeah, fucking watch the episode. You can say that, Jason.
Don't know. I keep doing it. This is what keeps the lights on around here, dude. No, I'm kidding.
Look, let's be honest. Let's be honest. It's these impersonations, and the Toothy Sarlacc keeps most of the lights on. I don't know if you're aware of that, Jason.
Fair enough.
But Toothy, I was laughing about that this morning because I'm like, what kind of company comes up with the catchphrase "Toothy Sarlacc" in every fucking PR piece? Like, a corny company.
This part is interesting. The writer also revealed that both Lucasfilm and McGregor were on board with the idea. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ewan was on board. Everyone, we were like, yeah, ready to go. And we were so excited about it too. It's a great story to tell, right? It's such a fitting character, and Ewan is just so fantastic at it. And he's the perfect age and everything. And so Beatty was devastated when he found out the project was no longer going ahead to be a movie. But I like that if they're on board with the idea, because that probably is telling about where they would move on and what direction. It was just dying to be done, you know. Unfortunately, it was Solo that changed the direction of the system. I like Solo personally, but it hadn't made a lot of money. It is crazy in some ways to think about it, how it was directed by one of the best filmmakers working today. But just because it didn't hit a certain number, they just had to rethink. And again, way above my pay grade, but it certainly crushed us. Devastated, absolutely devastated. But that's the business, you know, highs and lows. I'm glad it got made. I'm glad the show got made. I'm proud of my story that got told. I'm glad my characters are all through it, and I'm glad I got credit for it. I wish they'd been able to make my movies. Well, there's like certain things like in his version, from what if I'm correct, that are
before you get into it,
very different.
I just want to say something about Ron Howard really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So he was complimenting Ron Howard, and I was rewatching the James Cameron Masterclass right this weekend, and there's this part where, you know, there's a section where he talks about if there's anything he could do in his career over again, and he's like, look, it would be like
kick Ron Howard's ass.
You have to be really nice to people. He was known for being a bit of an asshole on set, right? I'll just shorthand that, you know, in his early days. A dictator, that would be the closest term on set. And he's like, look, you know, you don't have to be that way. He's like, and I would say, you know, he's like, I went there, I've watched Ron Howard work, you know, and I've seen how he treats people. And like, he's like, that is the model that to which I aspire, and have, you know, changed the way I operate based off that. And he's like, look, I've told Ron this, so it's not like I'm telling you so I haven't told him, but like, you know, it's a guy who just never is out there. You don't have to be this person who's like a control freak, you know? So yeah.
But Ron Howard was a kid actor. So sure, he saw the worst of everything, and really always said, if I get the gig, I know how I'm going to be. And he probably got the opposite. He worked with George Lucas and probably just saw a guy who was like, that's probably like, I'm not going to do that either. So anyways, they asked him about working on the other ones, and he says, no, just the first one, because they hadn't hired me to do the others yet, because I was busy working on the first one. So yeah, like there were like big differences, though, like total differences in like the structure that didn't come about until like much later on. I mean, like one thing I had heard was like Nur isn't added until Joby comes aboard. So like that just goes to tell you something about the different structure. Tala, bit different. I think Tala may even have had a different name, but I don't know if what I heard back then was the code name or not, you know. But Tala had a different name, and there were similarities and there were differences, but there were and then one of the other things I had heard back then was that Luke Skywalker was 4 years old in it. So just massive changes, you know what I mean? Massive like differences from what we got. And obviously you could be like, well, you know, 4 years old. Well, look at all of the stuff with Leia and Obi-Wan in this story. Imagine now she's 4 years old. Do you think any of that stuff really stayed? I mean, I could be wrong, you know, I haven't read it or whatever, so I don't know what he did, but if what I was hearing was correct, kind of have my doubts that it was more. I think it was like a lot of it was like the ideas, though, the spirit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my initial notes, Jason, Leia was a zygote, so they changed that.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Whatever.
That was your sequel trilogy idea, the zygotes.
Filoni's just happy. He's like, thanks, Filoni. I changed that. Thanks, Filoni.
but I was going to also say, Nolan, thank you for sending me the article and for bringing it up. And that's from the direct.com, in case I didn't say that. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. So
good on them. It's a good interview. I'm going to definitely, you know.
Yeah, it was a good interview. Like the right things were brought up. definitely. Like the follow-up questions were actually good.
Did he ever mention about how he figured out there should be ghosts in Pirates of the Caribbean? Because he's never admitted he just got that shit from Monkey Island. You know?
Neil says, speaking of Kiefer, I watched Dark City for the first time yesterday. Very impressed with the visuals and concept. Kiefer's performance, not so much. Yeah, that was around the time I think he started to like have like major Hollywood burnout. You know, I don't know if he was ever into the old drugs and stuff, but like that whole generation about that time, like the young guns generation, I want all of them in Star Wars. I would be up for anybody from Young Guns being in Star Wars. Just not bringing COVID with them. Mighty Ducks guy, you know what I'm talking about. But he's definitely kind of a hit or a miss at times. But I think what's his name? Christian Slater is like in Mr. Robot's pretty fucking good. And I think that's like Christian Slater actually like growing into his Jack Nicholson impression as opposed to being a 20-year-old impersonating Jack Nicholson the whole time. It's starting to kind of work.
Hey.
I love him. When I was like a little kid, Gleaming the Cube are the best movies out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is.
You might know it as Brothers Justice if you saw it on Fox.
Is it just me, or does him and his teacher in Pump Up the Volume have something going on that is not being shared with on screen?
Oh no, the teacher totally is into him.
For reals, right?
Yeah.
She is like one step away from banging that kid, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm like this fucking she's way into him, man. It's a little inappropriate.
Also had the Pixies on the soundtrack, which back then was a pretty big get because they wouldn't really do things back then. Star Wars Meg says, "Hey Meg, how's it going? Laugh out loud. Rob nailed the Filoni impression. 10% more stone sounding, and you're there."
I would say someone has to have been stoned probably to really get there. And since I have not, I am doing the best I can.
Yeah. Oh no, bisexual rager.
I do know questionably ethical LA entertainers who worked at Nickelodeon. I do know those types, and so I think that gets me a bigger insight than the stone thing. You know, ethically questionable.
Yeah, Jillian Jacobs was in the concept art for that one game. That's right.
Snag.
Matt Twain. No, that was Allison Brie, Eric. Correct. Easy to get them confused. I started to get them confused earlier on. Tim Roberts says Brie as Thrawn. Let the YouTube hate flow through. She's like blue. Oh, that'd be great.
My friend, he's a good dude, but he's like on this anti-Brie Larson thing, right? And look, I'll admit her performance, Captain Marvel's a little stiff. You know,
Okay.
like just chill out a little bit. But he's like, she's got big feet. I'm like, are you really doing this? Like, I got big fucking feet. Like, well, what does that have to do with it?
I can't put it up on my thing. The lady who plays Cara Dune's double, kind of better looking than Cara Dune, in my opinion. Which I thought was strange. Usually you don't see it like that. Usually the stunt person, but that I don't remember her name right now, but she also played the green thug with Flea. She was like the green lady. I don't know, Shizor lady. But she put a bunch of roles in the TV shows.
Shizor, and she's a
Thank you, Dell. Thank you, Dell.
You can just see it now.
Cara Dune is back, baby. Oh no. And thank you again, Nolan, for that. Mr. Ducky, appreciate the support all the time, dude. Brie is playing Salacious Crumb in Boba season 2. She's taking the legacy character and she's going to make it her own.
It's like I've always dreamt of playing a Cowlickian space lizard. You know?
Yeah. Except for what's really cool about this time though is like, you know, there was some stuff with the was it Kowakian? Is it Kowakian monkey lizard?
Sure.
I think it's a Kowakian monkey lizard.
Sure.
It was a little sexist. If you notice how it was kind of oogling Leia at times and the Jabba tail. Well, it's gonna be a woke version of Salacious Crumb that we've all been asking for.
Kowakian.
Golf. After a golf clap, that's just a straight up clap for you, Rob. For
It's a pretty easy one though, Jason.
It's great though.
Yeah.
It's great.
Fits
It's
right
never,
in there.
Yeah. Tyrant says that writer is sounding a lot like a certain director who rhymes with phony killjoy.
Yeah, it turns out the Kowokian space lizard's just being nice to Leia so he can impregnate her one day. Like he doesn't really mean any of it.
Yeah. Respect. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Jason, you got to make another video soon. Stop
man.
it.
All right. So I'm sorry, guys. You have to understand. Carrie Fisher, she was really hot in the '80s, and I can't let it go. Now, Del Erdman says, hanging around, nothing to do but frown. Rainy days and Mondays, always go mow down. Now you're making me watch the car. Oh, now I get where you're going. The old Dale Erdman, old man Dale. Nolan says the antagonist of Obi-Wan season 2 should be spiritual dark side users like the acolytes of the Beyond or Knights of the Ren, who are also seeking the path to immortality while Obi-Wan trains with Qui-Gon. Yeah, I mean, there's like what I like about Stewart coming out and talking about his version is it does go to show that there was already that idea and they were already like, yeah, about it. So when they're like, oh, if there was anything to do, if there was anywhere to go with this, well, there clearly is. They clearly do have or did have some ideas and some concepts.
Is he talking about this now because he knows he's not part of that production?
Yeah, he wasn't asked.
Right.
They just took his work and just kept passing it along. So his ideas are in there though. I mean, like I want to be clear about that. Like it's not like he did not inform it. It's not like his story wasn't there. The story is clearly a part of it. But like we were talking about, like I think it was you who asked me, like, was that Joby's baby? And it was like kinda, but not really. Like I think he might think so, but also it's kind of a big team effort there. That's also why I am like holding back a bit on like sucking Joby Harold's dick here, but also on saying you should slap his dick. I'm not saying to suck it or slap it. I'm saying I don't know, because everything is really spread around. So
he's got sole credit on Rise of the Beast, so we'll know then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, man. Just like I think if most, well, I don't know. You can never tell. I mean, people burn out.
Only as good as the last thing you did.
Oh, okay. If you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. Bryce is so nice. She's so nice. Her name rhymes with nice, right? Hey, Quentin, how's it going, dude? Hey, Quentin, when you want to come hang out and do the old Star Wars show with us? You gotta come on, man. Just let me know what day you're free if you are, and I'll send you the invite, dude. Mom jeans are back. Jason Pemberfoot's around making people in the UFO community mad again. It's pretty
starting shit up on Reddit.
No, he just always tells it like he sees it, and people in the UFO community are either it's all this or it's all that. It's all fake, or it's all real. It's all what and
you can
Jason's
go with this.
A question asker.
You can go with it. I put myself in the same category though. I think when we do the UFO show, I've gotten people go, "You seem to be against everything, Rob." I'm like, look, I can be for everything, and you wouldn't believe me. It's a big shtick. I'm just skeptical of everything until I see some real shit, and I'm like, I'm putting my money down on this one. You know, I believe in UFOs before I'll ever believe in a fucking god. Like that's not even.
No.
Yeah. I'm using the F word.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Hashtag deal with it.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Getting all angry for nothing.
Yeah, we really set Rob off just now. I don't know what we did, but we did it.
I don't know what you're. Yeah, I'm set off.
Cara Dune is now part of the Shapiro verse now. We could have her. Seth Nico.
You think she'll start talking really fast? Like, remember when Madonna moved to the UK and she picked up an English accent? Does this actress hang out with that guy and she just talks really fast now?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, watch the one we're getting cooked and Mando be the thumbnail. Yeah, right. What's up? Dale says I'll DM you. Cool, man. Yeah. Whenever, dude. Like always happy to have you on, dude. I did Quentin's show the other day. I don't know when it comes out. I think it comes out pretty soon, and then I'll link that on on one of the shows after it comes out too. Jason says, I want Obi-Wan to do a mission that requires him to team up with Uncle Owen, buddy cop movie style. Man, I did like those two guys like together, but the one thing is I don't know how you could get them together without undoing what you've done.
What are you talking about? You know how many episodes of Flintstones are predicated on those guys getting away from their wives for like a weekend? He's going to the moisture farmers retreat on Krayt or whatever, Canto Bight.
Yeah, you've watched too many Oral Knots. You watched too much
I suggest we all haven't watched enough Oral Knots.
that's bro. My I don't know if you heard this part of the show yesterday, but that moment when Obi-Wan and the Oral Knots episode when Obi-Wan goes to Ellen Sleaze Pagano and instead of telling him to go home and rethink his life, he told him to go home and kill himself.
Yeah.
My son can't stop watching it. He's just the fun. He's just like, I'll just hear him like cracking up and he's like watching it again.
He's developing the right sense of humor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, he's got the right sense of humor. Yeah. But
can't wait for their Larrys. The series is coming out soon. Unlike the sequel thing, this one's right. They're like, this one's going exactly the way we wanted it to. So I guess that the sequel and just Banana Time, it's taken so long because it's hard for them to make things out of that, you know? Like the way it doesn't really connect it on itself. So.
Episode will be out July 13th. Cool. So we got about 2 weeks. 2 weeks of some change. But I have to go to the little girl's room. I'll drink too much water. So have fun. I'll be right back.
I actually have things I could talk about, but then I'm going to have to say them again twice. I'm going to say them again twice, aren't I? But I'll say them again twice. So there's a podcast called the VFX Notes, everybody, right? On YouTube, it's called Hugo's Desk, but VFX Notes, like Victor Fox X-Ray. So they're the closest thing you can get to Cinefx. And they went to this big visual effects convention because one of them does compositing, the other one's a visual effects reporter. And Weta was giving a whole thing on the Batman and working in the volume, specifically really detailed on the car chase. And there's some interesting things about the volume that they covered there that has not really been covered well. So like if you guys know, like the Batman did this 4-minute like making of thing with the volume, and they're like basically like they shot everything in the volume and they built this LED rig for the car sequence, or it sits behind the cars. But they would have you think like they used that footage as is. Every shot with the volume also included almost total replacement, especially in the car sequence, total replacement CGI background. So like the volume gives you all the lighting and the reflections, but the idea that they're using the volume and not having to like CG over it or recompose it after the fact is a total lie. See, now Jason's back. We're gonna repeat all this. It's gonna be fun. Here we go. Now he's gonna drink his water. No. See that's what I'm telling you. It's not it at all, Jedi Mike. We're gonna get into it in a second. So we're talking about the volume here in the Batman, right? And I apparently when I explain myself, they don't listen. So we're gonna do it twice. This is why why you're here. So there's a podcast called the VFX Notes. It's an actual podcast, and they also have a YouTube channel with this guy called Hugo's Desk. And one of them's a compositor, like an actual professional compositor, a visual effects compositor, and the other one's a visual effects journalist. And there's a thing right now on HBO, right? Max, whatever, like you can watch it on YouTube, a 4-minute thing on the Batman and how they use the volume in the Batman, right? Mm-hmm. But they went to this big visual effects convention where Weta gave a giant presentation, and they said the presentation was so good they don't understand why they haven't released the video. And this breaks my heart because these guys are like, we thought the Batman was cool, but once they figure out how much work went into it, they're like, we have an even better appreciation. And this is the fucking heartbreak of things like Cinefx not being around. And the fact that there's a giant presentation on what Weta did on this film that you can't watch right now, it's like people would be appreciating these films more if they knew how hard they were to make. But the big takeaway from this, that the easy thing, and I think you should listen to it because we can have a good, more informed discussion about this
Okay.
in a later episode.
Yeah.
Is this HBO Max thing was sent to me last week by Fandom Empire or whatever, one of those guys, good dude.
Yeah.
And I watched it, 4 minutes long, but they would have you think in that video that they built the volume for the the rooftop shots, and they built that LED background for all the car shots, and just composited it in real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff in the car shot was all replaced, and a lot of the stuff, even on the volume that's used on those rooftop scenes, are also replaced or touched up.
Right.
Like there is no one-to-one. Like they're like, the volume is good for getting lighting and refractions and stuff, and like effects, and giving the actor something to work with. But even everything that they use had to eventually be replaced because of noir or something else. So it's just like they're watching this thing, and they're like, PR is doing a really creative job of taking B-roll and giving you this impression that it's all being done in the volume, in the same way that PR would make you think that those actors were really flying the jets in Top Gun, but that's not the case. Or that even though that those are real jets, that they're in real jets, all the backgrounds are totally CGI. You know what I mean? Like that's not all. They're not really flying in those environments. They're doing moves that are real, but those are not the environments they're doing them in. Right. And we just don't have this is not something that is covered anymore on special features too well on DVDs, and it just breaks my heart. Like the thing that was done on the volume in the Batman that I thought was really interesting was Greg Frager was using anamorphic lenses, right? Okay. And so that creates the ghosting on the side and the fall off and some of the blurring and different bokeh effects. And rather than try to they did two things. One, they did find a way to simulate bokeh in real time, and they could recalculate it, but they had to write some custom program so that the bokeh would only render when it's visible.
Explain bokeh to
bokeh is like lens flares in a way, but it's in capture refractions on the light. So depending on what iris you have at the center of your aperture, your f-stop on your cameras, it will create those cool little out of focus circles in the background. You see like those little
artifacts
yeah. And so they found out that they could get that done that way. They could fine tune all the bokeh to re-add them into scenes that needed stuff. And then what they also did was, rather than try to invent this shit digitally, they went and recreated all their own shit in real time for like the car chase sequence, and then placed them digitally. All these effects. Like it's just weird. Like they said that there was this point in the early 2000s where everything got super clean and pristine. I blame Attack of the Clones, right? This is the digital era where we can do everything digitally. And now, in the last several years, it's been, we do everything digitally, but we do everything also in camera, and then they blend the two. And the biggest thing was on that car sequence, there's all this stuff internally that's physical, but then they go to the exterior shots that you think are physical. They're not. They're 100% digital, but you can't tell. You just can't tell. Right. Like even like in fight sequences, actors don't connect. They connect them all digitally now in compositing. The Batmobile, when it's when it's got drifting tires on, it looks different. They fixed that. When it's got giant tires to let it take landing from jumping up and down, that's all removed and fixed. But the biggest take was the volume work, in terms of like every bit of the volume that was used was also replaced. Like it was not like they could just use it as is. So, and I wonder now, that was the thing. Like, and they're not explaining this. But I guess because they're like, if they tell you now, there was that Flight of the Intruder video we watched, Flight of the Navigator, video we watched from Dr. whatever that dude. And there's a Flight of the Navigator making of this guy did. And he was saying that the big visual effects selling point in the 80s was, it's all done on computer. Look at this, is amazing. And now the weird selling point is, none of it was done on the computer. It's all traditional. And he was like, that's a total lie. Like, there's total digital stuff and total like practical effects in Flight of the Navigator, even for the ship, And now they're telling you it's all done in camera. It's not. It's this visual effects compositing trick. And the stagecraft is one of the things where they lie and tell you it's all being done there on set. And it is, but it's also being replaced. It's also being replaced because you get these weird more LED artifacts. They still occur in camera when you capture them. And I wonder how much of that's being done here. And if maybe on Obi-Wan...
So wait. Are you saying that they're doing this on Star Wars too?
I think they are,
because I
and
don't
they're
think
not
so,
saying
because
it.
I kind of don't think so. I
Or
kind
are
of
they
think
not saying it, and that's the difference between
that's
something that's being done
I
cinematically with the volume and something that's being done for TV with the volume,
I
right?
think that is the
Yeah.
difference. I think that if they're using that to get the performance and the lighting sort of somewhat accurate, or to get kind of like the vibe in there, and then I think they might be going and then recompositing them onto the actual image that's on the LEDs that you're seeing
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
up front. I kind of think that's what it probably is, because there's a couple of times, like in Obi-Wan, for instance, when you open up on Coruscant for the flashback episode, the camera literally pulls back and they were just filming a screen. And I was just like, oh, it kind of doesn't look that good. It's
Yeah,
one
so
of them.
they specifically address that 4-minute HBO thing as like it's not true. It's PR bullshit. I'll put the link to the episode on the YouTube. You
Okay.
can skip their review. Their
Mm-hmm.
review, and they everything's bookmarked on the timeline. You don't want you don't
So
have to
watch the
watch
review
the
if you want to know. If you don't,
yeah,
yeah,
if you
go on to
don't,
the
it's
next
about
part.
12:49 in is when the cinematography of Greg Fraser starts, and I would start at that cinematography and just let it run straight through. But there is a really detailed, well-produced Weta thing, and I wonder if that'll be on some future special edition thing. But this really bums me out that we just don't know what they're really doing with the volume in a technical, non-PR way
Mm-hmm.
on Kenobi or Boba Fett or Mando 3 or anything. Like even the shots you had yesterday where you're like, hey, they're building 360-degree screens. So you're talking about that right after I watched this coincidentally, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you, because they probably got a compositing trick down now that just makes all that 10 times easier than it did before. And
Yeah.
and I can tell you, like, for me, the first time I noticed this real blend of mixing the compositing with realistic effects was around the Dark Knight, right? And Iron Man, specifically Favreau, when he said he was working on that shot in Iron Man where he's up in the air and he wanted condensation to hit the camera, and they had to go and actually get real footage of that. He didn't want fake shit, and they went and composited all these little things so it felt like you were right up in the air. And to me, like, it's that kind of like mentality that I think is better suited. I mean, it's better suited is not the word I want to use. It's more favorable in the Star Wars realm when you're making live action Star Wars to be aware of that sort of visual effect in the back end as you're working on things. Some
Right.
some directors they're not into that. They're built for you know actors' performances, telling the story. But so much of Star Wars, and Batman's a great example, is made, no matter how well you try to write it, is made in the editing bay or after you shoot it. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that is just something that, like, if you're not really into that, fans who are used to getting that really notice it missing. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like, I don't want to shit on the work done by Chung, the cinematographer on Kenobi, or anyone working on that production. I would say, and I think maybe you would agree with that. Tell me if you're right, or if you do,
Mm-hmm.
is that some things aren't a priority to folks because they're not thinking that way. And Lucasfilm themselves aren't, they're like, hey, we got the visual effects. They look great. And I'm certain on their fucking monitors they probably do, right? But to the fans who are like, man, like a real, like when Iron Man's flying up in that first sequence, if everything Favreau did wasn't based around believing that thing was legitly real, even though we know it's absurd, then, like, does half the MCU really exist past Avengers? They were contracted to make those movies one way or the other, but the going to that world with Iron Man was the big selling point, and that gave them the vibe all the way through. And for me, when Star Wars feels like a place you go to, not like I like the opening to Doctor Strange, but it's a big cosmic world and a big gobbledygook universe. Fine, that's fun. But, like, when it comes to Star Wars, it needs to feel like I take that old stupid line in the making of Lord of the Rings, where, like, pretend it's real, it was actually there, or it's history. But I do think there's something to that all these
Yeah.
little things that build up make it feel real more than just a storyline that they told you. Does that make sense? That's why the
Mm-hmm.
difference between the books and the comics and live action, when done right, is live action felt like it's a real place. The book, it's still a book. It's just a science fiction book.
Yeah.
With some interesting things. It's not the same.
Well, I never believed anything about visual effects ever again after Robert Zemeckis told me that hoverboards were real and parent groups had them taken away.
Lied.
And
He did, yeah.
I believed
You
that
believed
I could
that
get a
was
hoverboard somehow.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And
because that was a real thing.
I mean, yeah, I was in the Back to the Future fan club, and they had to do like a correction in it, letting everybody know, hey, you know what, he was just joking. But the way it was edited in that PR piece, I think it was hosted by Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun. The way it was edited in that piece, it was like, it really made you think that it was real. And you know, and I didn't believe it still. I was like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But I was like, that would be cool though. Is it real?
But if anybody out there is really hungering for a Cinefex kick, that podcast, you know, it's all on their YouTube. So if you want to watch them, but visually, audibly, it's on whatever else, VFX Notes. Totally get it for free. They're really good because they're speaking from a place of it's what they actually do. You know,
yeah,
like they're speaking from a place of experience and not just opinion.
Tyrant says, I think with the stuff on Disney Plus, they're using volume and using it as captured with some touch-up work, based on how extensively they have been using Quicksil assets for scenes in volume continuity or continued, then seeing the same assets in the final episode. And oddly, me working with those same assets in UE. So does that make sense to you? It kind of makes sense to me what he's saying, but I only think I'm following along. And
yeah, I'm sorry,
Lord Tasman misses Cinefex.
Yeah, I do too.
Quentin Lee said that's so messed up. They probably traumatized a few kids who wanted hoverboards. Oh man, I was pretty mad. I broke the wheels off my skateboard and painted it pink. My dad was like, what is going on right now? Jonathan says the visual effects in Kenobi were below par in comparison to Mando. I don't know whether it's Jon Favreau with the experience or the cinematographers involved that make the difference. I'm going to guess it's a certain alchemy of a lot of things. Like Jon Favreau, I mean, his work making those Lion King movies and shit, like that guy knows what's going to composite well, what's not, and all that kind of shit. Like he has to I would imagine he has the eye for it today. Like
even practically on like Zathura and laugh all you want, Elf. Like there's a lot of visual effects work on Elf that people just take for granted because it looks, you know, it looks cheap, but that was when you're going for that 60s aesthetic, it's funny, like they nailed it so well, you would think, oh, that's easy. It's not easy. It wasn't easy what they did, you know?
Yeah.
It was as hard as anything in The Hobbit, just smaller scale.
Yeah.
You know? Smaller
scale. And the other side of it, Jonathan, is it's a theory. I don't know if it's true, but my theory is that Mando either luckily or purposefully picked certain environments that happened to be well suited for the work that they were doing, and that tend to look pretty good when done that way there. Because when I look at Tatooine in Mando, it looks just as bad as it does in Book of Boba Fett. It looks just as bad as it does in Kenobi to me.
To be fair, though, the Tatooine on the last episode looked as best as it's ever looked on any.
It was shot a lot better. Yeah, I think that team learned a lot, like during the process, and by the fifth one, it really hit its stride. Honestly, I think by the fourth one it hit its stride, but I know most people don't like the fourth episode for some reason. But I do think that the fifth and the sixth one were where most of the TLC went, right? That's where they went chasing waterfalls. Was on.
I would say the sixth
5 and 6.
Yeah. And if 5, because that the visual effects work on Vader and Reva in that fight were great. The front end of that episode, I'm still like, it looks just like they got 20 guys in a room and shot in front of a door. You know, fine, whatever. The one that gets me is how there's no real shot of like Vader's ship kind of landing thing. Like there's just this whole like her ship comes down and then Vader's ship. It's weird they didn't just put them all together in some weird.
You know what I always think when I watch the Kenobi ending now? is Darth Vader actually flying that ship by himself? Or like, does he sit in the back, like on like a little seat, and like he has two pilots? Because he kind of like the dialogue kind of makes it sound
No,
like he goes
he's
by
flying it
himself.
himself. Yeah, he's flying it
Yeah,
himself. Yeah.
yeah. I
He
kind of
he
I
flies
wouldn't.
his own ship in The New Hope.
No, oh yeah, oh no. I mean, he's like the best star pilot in the galaxy. So like I know that, but but we don't ever see him fly like an Imperial shuttle, or have seen it. I don't remember it ever being implied. And then they didn't give us a shot of him flying it either. Like
Yeah,
they
but if
just
he can fly his own ship, he can fly that.
Oh, I'm not
ship.
saying he can't fly it. I'm just saying it just
Yeah.
seems like, like maybe he would get one of his Imperial slaves to do it for him. That's all. But he probably didn't want anybody to see him cry,
I want the oral nut scene where he gets in there, motherfuckers. I can do whatever. I'll fly my sheep. Tell me what to do. I'm pod racing since I was 8. Fuck, who are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like he could pod race as an 8-year-old, Jason. I think he could fly one of those things.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he can't. I'm just asking,
Okay.
like rich people can drive, they just don't a lot.
The
What I
question is, does
mean?
he take his gloves off like Doug Masters does?
Does he have flying gloves that he changes them to like other black ones, like velvet, like black velvet ones? Like
he puts on the little leg recorder on his leg so he can listen to Queen while he flies it and shit.
Little Fitbit.
Yeah.
Quentin thinks, yeah, they use the captured volume footage instead of rendering it from Unreal. And that's kind of what I think they did too, because there's times when I feel like I could see, like literally see that it's a screen. Like one of the times when I think it would have paid off to not have gone that way is like when Tala is walking on Nur deep into the base to go to the security gates. You see like it's like the Lando shot from Return of the Jedi, and it loses a depth of field. And I think if it had been a recomposite of that stuff, then there would have been depth of field. That's just lacking. So,
Right.
but Jedi Mike says, I was able to take a film studies class in 1990 in high school. I don't think kids get that study anymore because they're already coding and photoshopping.
The problem, Jedi Mike, is they're getting it. They're just getting it on YouTube from shows. And they think because they've heard an opinion now, they have formed one. So you're not getting them actually watching things and studying them and then having to like write a dissertation on it or or at least an oral presentation validating, subjective theory. They're listening to Patrick Williams give a really good 1-hour speech on something and then going, "Yep, that's what I think now." Like always felt that way, and then they just kind of half-handedly like remember that in a conversation or something. It's not the same.
Yeah, in grad school, the head of my cohort of grad students, she was a really good professor. But that was one, man. She like had us reading like 500 pages, was tearing shit up, like not like in an abusive, cruel way, but at the end of it, I was like, holy shit, I am better than I was before. And that just never would have happened on my own. By the same measure, I do know people who started using, Adobe and use tutorials off of, YouTube, and now they're editors. They do it. So it can happen. It just depends on, I think it depends on you and what you're doing.
I think what we're talking more about is not learning a technical asset, it's subjective reasoning, right? And like analytics. And so this is a problem I've had in art studios where, let's say you have an in-house studio, right? And they hire some younger kids. And I've been using Photoshop since 1994 or 5, around there. But I also did film study classes, and theory and all that stuff. The problem you get into is when someone who's only done technical things, they come in and then they go, "Why'd you do that?" "Oh, look cool." All right, that's not going to cut why you made a decision because it looked cool or it didn't look cool. Like they know how to do things, but they don't understand why.
Megan Fox look cool.
And when it comes to replicating what you did off, let's say you took something, you had a theory, whether you were aware of it or not, on a project,
a bait and switch
constructed. Yeah, and then we want you to do another one. They can't take that and apply it.
Yeah,
like it's very, and it's not something new. But I would say Drew Struzan complains about this the most in his Art of Drew Struzan book. He just complains about Photoshop, but that's not it at all. It's that people who have no real art background now have the technical ability to edit art, and so you have people who don't actually understand how to create art in charge of art, which, by the way, hasn't really been that big a fucking problem before. It's just that a lot of times art directors came up as artists, right? And now art directors are people who can just edit things and they've never actually made anything. And that is where it gets very difficult. It gets very difficult.
Yeah. No, I mean, otherwise they're tinkerers. Will Morgan says, I'm sorry, guys. As soon as Obi-Wan's last scene had him with the new model of Oakley's, I was pretty certain that bad effects were perhaps not trolling, but nitpicking our nitpicks. Nah, it's just, Obi-Wan's always been an Oakley's guy. Everybody knows that. Whoa. Are you picking stuff by any chance? Rob?
Am I what?
No, okay. No, the chat is just going a little crazy right now. Tyrant says Mando feels shot with a wider lens in general. Were there where things are allowed to blend and artists have more to work with in post? Where Kenobi, I feel like a lot of it was pulled in and it highlights flaws. That could be, I mean, I don't know, but that could be like Deborah Chow just being more about getting intimate and shooting tighter. And
this was not shot with an anamorphic lens, Kenobi, and that makes a big difference. But it has a weird
but Mando ratio. Was?
It appears to be, yeah. Okay. And I can. There are shots where I'm like, either they faked it really well or they shot it with anamorphic, and I tend to think that's just director's preference. That's where, having never directed a movie before, maybe she's just directed on TV, and so she's using, a 135 versus a 235, or you know what I mean. She's using a certain lens that she's used to using, or the cinematographer is used to using. I mean, the cinematographer did Last Night in Soho, which looks pretty amazing. So that's why I'm super confused, and I'm not the only one. Super fans of his work on Twitter have been like, "How did this guy churn out this visual? They can't figure it out." This is a guy, put together Old Boy and stuff. Like it's really weird, and I have to wonder. I can't even wonder. I just want to know. I want to know where the thinking was.
Yeah. I wonder if if the shooting and the anamorphic wider stuff, if that raises cost substantially by some chance, if it leads to more work and therefore raises cost. And this one, they didn't have that much time, so that you have cost, but you also have cost versus time and being able to do the effects in time. So I think that's one of the big things that was going against the show.
When the series debuts like 2 months after your last series, take more time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't need another series 2 months after, so you can start another series 2 months after that. Like, that's where I would say quantity over quality is not, I don't know about that. You could do 2 series a year if it's like a matter of 6 months, but then they would go, "You're not the one spending the money, Rob." Like, yeah, I'm not feeling too sorry for Lucasfilm bucks at this point. They're gonna make their money back. Like, it's not 1981 here. Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Make their money back,
I don't know how the business works. I'm not a business guy.
I am kind of stupid though, Jason.
St. Clair says Kenobi is a character study show and was filmed as such. It's about a man's struggle to come to terms with his past and find a reason to move forward with his life and future. It's not supposed to be flashy. And
okay, but they have a giant light. They have 2 lightsaber battles. Like, I get what you're saying. Flashy is not what we're talking about. I just think that if they set precedents, figure out what precedent you want to set, so people have an expectation of what they're getting. And Star Wars is hinged on the visual and the music, and then the story. And if you're going to say that those 2 take a backseat to the story, and you get complaints about it, don't tell fans, "No, you shouldn't have any complaints about the visuals in a Star Wars story," because like Lucas literally pulled his hair out, you know what I mean, over getting those visuals up to par. If the visuals didn't matter, then whatever John Dykstra and them hippies conjured up when Lucas got back from Tunisia would have been fucking cool. We would just fucking film that, put it on fucking strings, move the ships around.
All those fucking hippies.
He called one of these fucking. He was so mad. They had nothing, man. Like, he was scared as shit. Ping pong tables and fucking strings, man. Like,
I don't know, but I mean, when they had that hot tub and there were no bras, I think they had the right idea about how ILM should be run. Tyrant says, "Hey Rob, this is your local Adobe rep. I have been moonlighting as an MSW fan for 7 years and just to hear you admit to using our products since '94. We have some unpaid licensing fees to collect.
Jokes on you, Tyrant. I bought my copy before they took that away. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
They
No, I paid the $750 and bought it outright.
Wow.
You know, the very last physical edition they did, because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't update my Photoshop. Turns out you don't need to. Like, if you actually know what you're doing, you don't need a lot of these features now. Really are just based around letting an AI do things for you, and yeah. I do not. There's a real problem right now, Jason, that is not being discussed amongst casual graphics people. But like, when the AI is doing the work for you, or like, let's say you take an image and you can do a stretching thing where it fills in the gaps, right? Content aware scale. I don't know where like it's pulling that information. Sometimes it's pulling it from your file, but an AI can pull things from anywhere. It could be pulling it from stock photography hooked up to a cloud. And now you have bits of things that you don't own in your work. So like, over the last 2 years, I have had companies tell me, do not use any fucking thing, no matter how minute, that they didn't pre-approve, or whatever, or you generate from 100% assets. Do not, because they just don't know. You know, what if you're doing something with the modern version of Photoshop that's doing some AI fill-in somewhere, and it looks like, oh, just a couple squiggles, who cares? But them couple squiggles can be traced back to some stock fucking thing on there, whatever. And now your whole film gets shut down, you know, on fucking all streaming platforms because a bunch of artists did that and didn't know.
Yeah.
We're in uncharted territory right now with all this, you know?
Right.
So I just use old shit, man.
Just use old shit. That's what I say.
That's what I do.
Work for the Rebel Alliance. Lord Tasman says hot tubs, forklifts, dropping refrigerators on the parking lot. John Dykstra and those hippies.
There was this AI thing. So 10 years ago was the last time I was drawing comics. And I remember this is right when people were using Google SketchUp to do like 3D models in the background. Google SketchUp has this repository of models you can borrow from. Okay. And in 1 month, I'm looking at some issues, and there's like the same Aztec temple in like 5 different comics. You know? And I'm like, this is a real problem, guys. Just fucking draw a temple. You know, like, I don't know who owns that model. You know, like, come on. It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
So even though Unreal ships with all these nanite things, right? Pre-made assets, and they say it's cool so long as you use this. That's their take now. But who's to say they don't change and backlog those changes later? Like, it's very
there could be some ruling, and then now you can't get an abortion. Or I mean now you can't, you know, now they could just say you owe them. Yeah.
So, well, what you mean is people can't get safe abortions because sadly abortions won't stop. I mean, I'm not saying sadly safe abortions will stop and unsafe abortions will start, you know, which is the real heartbreak of all this fucking bullshit.
I just always liked, like, I just always found I was like a really good Christian when I'm forced by law to like do what I think the Bible says. Anyways, five speed van says, this may be a dumb question, but when I hear people talk about the Obi-Wan Vader fight and the direction of the blue saber light on Vader's face, then the red light, wouldn't that be cinematography?
So you talking about like continuity? Like the continuity going this way, that way? That's done in the editing bay, and if they had to flip a shot, then you just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they shoot what they shoot, but in the editing bay, they have to go for clarity of storytelling and linking one shot up to the next, so it it's just not their priority. Their priority is to,
okay, well then just in case that's not what he means, if he just talks about the very fact that they decided to use actual light rods that put the blue light and the red light on their faces, would that be a choice in cinematography?
That's a director's working with the cinematographer on, we're going to do this, and so how will you light? So that is creative decision. Begin. I don't understand. It's not a set thing in every production. Every production is pretty much unique, and I want to know, like on this production, where was the
five speed? That's it. 5 speed says you are right.
Yeah. Was it Deborah Chow and Joe B. Harrell is the showrunner, and the visual effects supervisor, which I'm uncertain who that is, and like who was making the call, like, and not to blame, but just so I can get a sense of like continuity of artistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just always a little easier when Lucas would be like, "I made the decision," or it was fucking Noel, you know, like I mean, you'd be like, "Yeah, I guess."
There's fucking Noel, the ex hippie, that sellout yuppie. Fucking Noel, the yuppie.
Yeah. From hippie to yuppie. Hold on. I gotta get this dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, wrong one. The real shame of my generation is watching the from hippies to yuppies, the Lucasfilm story, right? We all just got money and we just said fuck it, you know, we're just selling out. We're all getting homes in
You're not
Simi
selling
Valley.
out. You're buying in, Lucas.
Yeah, Simi Valley. We all got our own currencies now, right? You got Dijkstra coin, you got Null coin, and
I think it's called nullified.
You got Kurtzbits, but that ain't going nowhere.
Nullified.
Still mad about that. Still mad.
I'm gonna pitch to John Knoll writing his biography. It's gonna be called Nullified. Do you think he'll go for it?
Huh?
Nullified, a biography.
Nullified. I like
Nullified.
it. I like it.
That's where I'm at.
This is how I know, right? Right.
Nolan with the homies.
Let's know, right? Yeah.
Oh shit. All right. So Tyrant says Nanite is just a virtual geometry tech built into UE5. Rob, you mean the Quixel library, but fair.
It is, but there's Nanite assets. So those are specific assets that Nanite is using to render infinite detail. And unless Tyrant himself specifically created that model, he's pulling from a library that Epic says anyone can use. Until one day Epic says no one can use it. And well, that'll never happen, Rob. Sure it won't. You know, and I'm curious to know when that day comes what it'll be like. You know, or can they like right now with Unreal, the idea is that you can use it for free, but if you go into a production, right, if you actually distribute a game, then you know you got to pay a certain amount of like royalties off the back, you know, or something. But what if they just say, well, we're up in that and we're backlogging it, and they just send everyone a fucking notice, and you can say that's impossible. Well, health insurance companies do it to you all the time. 2 years after you got insurance, they send you a bill for something else you apparently owed them that you never knew.
Yeah.
So like we live in a real weird litigious / we live in a country right now that only favors mega corporations. It doesn't favor us. No. You know, so I get real wary when all these I get pre-made assets make things go faster. I would say don't ever do it. You know, it's bad enough you got to use an engine these days that you didn't create, because that's the world we live in. But like when it comes to assets too, I don't know. Like it gets very difficult.
Yeah. Chris says, do you think Ahsoka will have the production quality of Mando? To be honest with you, there's really no way to tell until we see something. There just really is no way to tell. It's the same place, the same cameras, mostly the same people. And so obviously there could be a lens difference and stuff like that, but it's really hard to like say. So I don't know. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I want everything to look as good as it can. And you know, there are times when, you know, some of these I would say look like Attack of the Clones, and some of them look more like Revenge of the Sith. And we want more Revenge of the Siths than Attack of the Clones is, I say.
Yeah.
So Jedi Mike says, I can still learn to create and build a small engine. True.
Okay. Well, what's that song? I can ride my bicycle. I can build a nuclear bomb. I can make a game engine, right? Right.
But
okay.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a day. We did an hour and 40 minutes. I want to thank everybody for being a channel member. I want to thank everybody for the super chats today, and for anybody who subscribes and likes to the videos as well. Thank you so much for doing that, you guys. The channel has been growing, and I appreciate it, and I hope that we could continue to grow now that we're past Kenobi. Would be great if that happens. So I appreciate it.
We need
like
the Andor clock, Jason. We need
Andor
clock.
clock.
The Andor clock, the countdown, right?
No, I think we need to take like a total like sexist like path. We need to call it Mandor. It's not for ladies. This is like we'll go like the man show.
Sister.
Oh no!
Or half the shows about Mon Mothma.
I've watched the trailer when she's running lots of times. I did not forget.
Right.
But anyway,
I'm excited. You think I'd be all depressed after it wasn't my thing? I'm like, no, man, it's fine. I can't wait for this other thing. But that's what's great about Star Wars now is you got something else coming down the pike. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately where it ends up is if it didn't work for you, something's different is coming along, and nothing. We know that Star Wars is never the same twice, even though people are like it's all the same stuff. It's not, and then it'll be different. This next one has a much different production. So production was what got in the way for you. Then it's going to be a lot better, I think, because it's filmed out in Pinewood. And that was the last thing I wanted to add. Somebody was asking, why didn't Andor use the volume as much? Well, they didn't have access. They had access to the Pinewood Studios out there. When they did have access to the volume, which I don't know how much they did, but Batman was also using it and using that stage a lot of the time too. So they had to rely more on classic movie making kind of stuff. So that's the real reason why. If there were 6 volumes out there, I bet you they would have went with saving the money and not built the sets. That's just my take, but that's what I think is probably the truth. So
to piggyback off that, go watch and listen to that VFX notes if you want to know more about the volume and Batman and a real discussion, not the PR discussion, on how that was all implemented.
Exactly. I haven't seen it, but I will. And if it sucks, we'll just chastise Rob for it. But for now,
get the fuck out of my house.
Okay.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
Hey! It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
Hey! It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.